Did you know this is the 25th anniversary of Wally World? Walt Disney World? Just kidding.
Going on a holiday. Going on a holiday. Hey there, what do you say? We're going on a holiday.
Who's the moosiest moose you know? Marty Moose. Who's the star of your favorite show? Marty Moose. M is for Mary, where Mary you see. O is for oh gosh, oh golly, oh gee. S is for super swell, family glee. E is for everything you want to be. M-A-R-T-Y M-O-O-S-E. What's that spell? Marty Moose, Marty Moose, Marty Moose. Yuck, that's me. It is 5:49 p.m. on Tuesday, July 28th, 2015, and I am on my way to the AMC Burbank 16 in beautiful Burbank, California, to catch a 7 p.m. screening of Vacation. Welcome to One Movie Later, where I compare and contrast my preconceptions and postconceptions of movies in theaters now. This has truly been the summer of theme park movies, hasn't it? Disney released Tomorrowland, Universal released Jurassic World, and now even Six Flags is getting in on the action with the Vacation reboot. And that's not to mention the made-for-TV Sharknado 3, which partly takes place at Universal Orlando, the Haunted Mansion theme being briefly used in Inside Out, and Michael Pena briefly whistling the worst song ever written in the history of the world in Ant-Man. Now, the original film, Wally World, was obviously a parody of Disneyland, but they couldn't afford to shoot at Disneyland. Disneyland wasn't about to let an R-rated comedy being made by Warner Brothers get shot in their park, so they instead went with Magic Mountain, which is now known as, of course, Six Flags Magic Mountain, and the big iconic roller coaster which was used at the end of the movie, Colossus, was closed down last year. I got to ride it before it was closed down. It was also the roller coaster at the beginning of the step-by-step credits, and outside Colossus, as like a photo op, there was the original station wagon from Vacation, and like a photo op thing where you could pretend to be one of the Griswolds, and it's probably the biggest promotion and acknowledgement of an R-rated movie I've ever seen at a family theme park, except of course for Terminator 2 3D at Universal. Now, the original Vacation came out in 1983, the same year I was born. I was 2 when the second one came out, European Vacation, and I was 6 when Christmas Vacation came out, so those films are all kind of before my time. Though I did, as a matter of fact, see Vegas Vacation in theaters of my own free will for some reason, and I recently rewatched them all just to sort of, catch up on them, and yeah, Vegas Vacation does not hold up. It's the one that holds up the least out of all 4 of them. Though it does, even that occasionally has its moments, like Wallace Shawn as the sadistic blackjack dealer. With the possible exception of Christmas Vacation, which is, definitely the one with the most cohesive story, beginning to end, the Vacation movies are basically sketch films. It's kind of the same structure as Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where you just get these characters and you send them off on a quest to do something, or through a bunch of various things, like in European Vacation. And the problem with sketch films is that unless you are making Monty Python and the Holy Grail, unless your film is being written by the funniest people of all time at the peak of their powers, it's gonna be hit or miss. This happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. These bits work, but then these bits don't. And I know that the best of those movies are revered as classics, but I don't think they're such unassailable classics that you can't remake them. In fact, I'm not against remaking comedies in general, because all you're really doing, at best, when you're remaking a comedy is yes-anding the original. And that's the key of improv. Just take this and just go to the next level with it. That's why I'm actually looking forward to the Ghostbusters remake, for example. And I've really liked what I've seen so far in the trailers and such. I like the 21 Jump Street movie kind of vibe of lines like,
I've never even heard of the original Vacation.
Doesn't matter. The new Vacation will stand on its own.
I love the casting of Ed Helms as grown-up Rusty, because if there's 2 things Ed Helms does really well, it's cluelessness and suppressed rage. And what else does the head of the Griswold clan need? And I really appreciate that it's being directed by the same people who wrote the movie. If you look across the board at my favorite comedies of all time, almost uniformly, they are all, the writers had something else to do with it. Either the writers also directed it, or they also starred in it, or produced it, or something. Because I firmly believe, and this is especially the case with comedies, that if you don't let the people who came up with this shit have any say whatsoever in the actual making of it, it's not impossible to make a good movie, but the boulder you're pushing up the hill is twice as heavy. And I really appreciate that this is the first R-rated vacation movie since the original from 1983. All the others have been PG-13. There's an essay to be written somewhere about the theme park trilogy of summer 2015, Tomorrowland, Jurassic World, and Vacation, and how they relate to the theme park experience and to the parks themselves being represented. Tomorrowland doesn't really explicitly mention theme parks, but it's kind of subtly about the idealism behind theme parks, of why theme parks are, and especially Disneyland, are built in the first place. And that corresponds to Disneyland being all about magic, and it's all, oh, this isn't a theme park, you're really walking down Main Street, and you can't have anything in the skyline interrupting the magic of it, and woo. Jurassic World, meanwhile, while still very much a fantasy, is more about the nuts and bolts and the behind the scenes of a theme park and all the things that can go wrong from the park's point of view. And that kind of fits into Universal being more of a behind the scenes type place. And Vacation is all about the various things that can go wrong from the guest's point of view. And that fits in with Six Flags being kind of a shithole. Anyway, I appear to have arrived at the theater with disappointingly few wacky shenanigans along the way, so movie's gonna lose some points for that. And even fewer involving Randy Quaid as a shit-kicking cousin. But the night's still young.
Doesn't matter what you say.
Hi, I am the great Luke Ski, occasional appearer on Some Jerk with a Camera.
Indeed you are.
I'm David Doggans Gansel, even more occasional rare guy who shows up in the thing. I'm behind camera a lot.
Yes.
Oh, I'm the great Luke Ski from the year 2005. No, I am Zach Hurst, aka R.L. King.
Wow, you're doing well with the economy and everything.
It's true.
So, we just saw Vacation, and I really liked it. I thought it was...
I laughed a lot.
I'm about 50-50 on it. Some parts I really laughed, and some parts I just spit like...
There were a lot of cringing moments, but I think for every cringe moment, there was also a huge laugh for me. So it balanced out. I rewatched the original Vacation last night just to get it fresh in my memory. I didn't rewatch all 6,000 sequels. I think this movie did right by Vacation.
I agree.
It's more structured, more focused than the original movie. A vacation movie at its best pushes the disaster just so far past the point of plausibility to tap into something more universally relatable.
Right.
And
this movie did that at its best.
It did.
They had plenty of nods to the original film, both, vaguely and super directly, and those made me incredibly happy.
My favorite difference is that the cheating aspect is kept considerably minimal. Like they had whole scenes dedicated to that in the first movie, and here it's like maybe a minute long, and it is mostly played for a really good punchline.
The key difference between the two movies, I think, is that Russ is a far more earnest and innocent character than Clark is.
Yeah.
And he more genuinely wants to do right by his family, whereas Clark is just kind of an obsessive man driven to madness. And
but still, he is his father's son. He is very much. You can see the Clarkness in Russ, so shines through so much in a very good way.
Absolutely.
So Ed Helms, way to go.
Excellent casting all around. All around.
It really was, yeah.
Great cameos throughout.
This is more cameos than a Muppet movie, really.
Yeah.
And better used cameos than the most recent Muppet movies.
Generally speaking, it does a pretty good job. I don't even think it fully captured it. It did seem a lot like here's a series of short sketches, like back to back. But still the heart of Rusty Griswold and him trying to, do this thing that he's trying to bring his family together does hold it together.
Well, ostensibly, the original Vacation was also just kind of a series of sketches.
The best thing about the movie really was visual humor. Like, like they had that bit with the GPS where what the sound you're getting is funny, but there's a visual that goes along with it that is just it's just subtle enough to be absolutely hilarious.
The writers and directors of this also wrote Horrible Bosses, so they really like GPS humor.
They also really like Charlie Day.
Oh yeah, Charlie Day was hilarious. It's basically a cameo, and at the beginning of it, he's very unfunny, and then his character takes a brilliant turn, and the rest of that scene is like the funniest thing you've ever seen. It's really a highlight of the movie.
Yeah. And it's like intentionally unfunny. It's not like
yes.
Right.
The only person that I was really, really irritated with pretty much the entire movie was the youngest son, who I just wanted to like punch in the face repeatedly because he reminded me of, it's both a testament to the writing and at the same time a detriment to the movie when the character feels like an actual 12-year-old little brother that you can, like punch in the face repeatedly.
I've actually been doing a lot of thinking about that lately for other reasons, like the whole notion of the archetype of a bully in pop culture as this character that for decades people just accepted as okay. I mean, obviously there's different iterations, but the iterations that I think we're growing up with is like, oh look, Nelson and Jimbo and Dolph and Kearney on The Simpsons. They're bullies, but they're okay. They're just part of like the social ecosystem. Or you look at like a show like Phineas and Ferb where there's Buford and there's a bully and but it's okay. He's still part of their friends, but somehow it's still okay with everyone else that he acts that way. And I've just kind of been feeling like, all right, I'll give everything that already existed a pass, but from this point forth, let's not have bully archetypes as accepted characters in pop culture. And then we see Vacation, and there's this kid that's like, please let the older brother punch him directly in the face repeatedly at some point before the end of this movie, because this kid is exactly the type of character that I hate.
Something like that.
Yeah, the original Vacation movie, at least, was really trying to capture that whole Route 66-ish traveling from Chicago out to, the Los Angeles area. I'm curious of the four of us, like when I grew up, at least twice, if not more.
Well, Zach knows because he's you. But
yeah. My family, and particularly when I was very young, it was my mom.
Our family.
Yes. Mom and Dad and my older sister and me, we drove from Wisconsin to Disney World and other versions of that trip, including younger siblings and grandparents even, much like the original Vacation. So I'm curious, did any of you guys have those type of actual road trip vacation-y places or experiences in your lives?
My family definitely did a lot of long cross-country road trips. Partly for work for my parents, that just sort of became the vacation for us out of necessity, but we still enjoyed the travel. But it gets stressful, cramped in the backseat of the car with your siblings that you have that you have love/annoy relationships with. Some of you watching this have seen me interact with my brother in other videos.
Yes. Some of you watching this video probably are his brother who's acted with him.
Probably.
Probably.
Who was in the backseat of Jared's car for the Tomorrowland review. So.
Yes. At least 3 of you
watching this of life.
Most of my vacations were done by plane.
Right.
Usually would be flying to Florida to go to Disney World. In terms of disasters, I can only think of one vacation off the top of my head where we had a disaster, and it's not the fun kind you share.
Oh.
So I'm just going to say that it involved cheese raining from the sky.
How could that not be a fun one you share?
My family never had any disasters, but my dad did have a good sense of humor. We were driving through Georgia and we found just on the side of the road some totally beaten up, rusted down shack half covered with kudzu. So he told, or I guess he was probably driving. He pulled over and he had my mom take pictures of him with our luggage in front of it as if that was the place we were staying so that we could show that to everyone when we got home.
My mom and I would often go on road trips to Disneyland. Disneyland was never really my dad's cup of tea, so it was frequently just me and my mom, and being an only child, there were no siblings to annoy me repeatedly, so my memories of those trips are mostly extremely pleasant, although I do remember one time when our car broke down about halfway to Disneyland, and we had to get it towed to Fresno or something, and the car basically just wouldn't start. And we took it into some mechanic, and they basically said, well, look,
What?
If you don't calm down, we are turning this vlog around. Do it, I dare you. Okay. And I was 6 when Christmas Vacation came out, so those films are all kind of before my time. Though I did, as a matter of fact, see... God damn it!
So I guess the hot new trend in Hollywood is take a beloved 80s Harold Ramis comedy that starred SNL alumni, then get somebody who worked on Freaks and Geeks to reboot that with a role for Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So if this is any indication, I think Ghostbusters will be okay.
Holy God, Thor's hammer. Yes. The hammer is his penis.
It is indeed.
Yes. Let's cut to the chase here, Tony Goldmark. Some Jerk with a Camera is a blog about theme parks.
Of course.
So this is, in the first Vacation movie, that was where it kind of failed because they get, spoiler alert from 30 years ago.
Right.
They get to the theme park and it's closed and you really don't get to see it except for awesome wackiness with John Candy,
and
then
they shot at Colossus.
And then it's like, oh look, we see them beginning to ride a roller coaster, and then that's it. Spoiler alert! Is it spoiler time?
Yeah. Let's just say spoiler. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Going to Yellowstone.
Going to Wisconsin Dells.
Going to Valley Forge.
So first of all, the most direct route to get to what we assume is Los Angeles is to go from Chicago to Missouri, over to Memphis, then down to Arkansas, up to Houston, all the way up to San Francisco, and then down the coast to California. That's how, maps
sidetracked.
work.
Yeah,
Vogue, baby.
To be fair, when they made the decision to go to San Francisco, they didn't think they'd be going to Wally World anymore.
Well, that's true.
So
And they were getting most of their directions in Korean.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's right.
From the sound of it,
That doesn't explain why the trucker with Lotso Huggin' Bear at the front of his car was kept, following them. But
from the sound of it, though, it was distinctively North Korean.
As far as finally seeing what Wally World is in 2015, in your opinion, for what we saw of it, Tony, how do you think it held up as far as a theme park went?
Well, it was a Six Flags basically. I mean, and that's all and since Wally World was shot at the original was shot at a Six Flags, there's nothing wrong with that. In most theme parks, at least that I've been to, closing time is when you stop letting people in line, but you stay open long enough so that everyone who is in, if the park closes at 8 p.m. for example, if you get in line by 7:59, the park will stay open, or the ride will stay open long enough for you to actually ride it. This movie kind of invented some stupid, the ride's closing, get out of line, leave the park.
Yeah, my car's closing. We have to get out of the...
Yeah, exactly. It was summertime. The biggest ride had a 4-hour waiting time, and it closed before dark. What kind of fucked... unless you're closing for like a private party or something.
I guess they had to set up that one joke for later, where it suddenly went from day to night.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, it was a completely manufactured reason just to get the Griswolds in a fight with Peter Gibbons and his family.
And also the ride was closed, but they still weren't going to let the last car go until everybody finished their fight.
Of course. I guess it makes as much sense as closing the whole park for 2 weeks. Instead of just one ride at a time.
I was thinking a lot about this going into the movie because I was like, okay, so obviously they can't do the same ending where the park is closed.
Right.
And they released pictures and footage and stuff of them being in the park while it's open.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some sort of last-minute disappointment in Wally World.
Yeah.
Some sort of last punchline. And it was okay.
You knew some kind of Griswoldian, turn was going to come, and I'm like... Please don't let it happen until they get to actually ride this coaster. We made this journey 30 years ago, and it somewhat failed. We're doing this journey again so that we can do it and actually win. I wanted them to win, basically they won. So yeah, I'm happy that it had a happy ending like that.
It's the moment where they're climbing the roller coaster incline, and they start singing, and I actually kind of got a little teared up at that moment. It's like, because it all says, that moment when they're riding the intense roller coaster and they're just having so much fun. It's like, yeah, theme parks can be a pain in the ass, but for moments like that, it's worth it.
It's like...
and then it subverts itself. When I first heard about this movie, and I read some plot synopsis somewhere, I heard that part of the plot involved he's taken his family to Wally World specifically because it's closing. Like, Wally World is shutting down finally, and he wants to take his family there before it finally does. But I guess they went a different direction, or they just cut that plot.
Earlier draft.
Yeah, we were also supposed to get a Freaks and Geeks reunion, so there you go.
Yeah, that didn't happen. The original is in a world where Disneyland never existed, and the Walt Disney analog of that original world is still alive doing television in the 80s and lives close enough to the park to come down.
Maybe he didn't smoke.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And then, like, when they walk in the park, you see the statue of Marty Moose taking a selfie with himself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, obviously they're trying to show that Wally World, lived, thrived, and survived.
It would have been nice for there to be like a partner statue.
Exactly.
Of Roy and Marty Moose.
You may not have noticed this in the Christmas Vacation movies, but when he's drinking punch from the punch bowl, the little cups he's drinking from are like moose ear holders.
I do remember when the trailer first came out, I think it was Todd in the Shadows was tweeting about how implausible it was that Rusty would have such fond memories of the original Vacation.
I don't think it was that implausible, because you always remember the best stuff, your brain has a way of just remembering the good stuff and somehow blocking out the 99% of the trip where you were just bored or miserable.
Well, they did get to meet Roy Wally.
Well, there you go.
I personally found it super hilarious that you see Russ, Ed Helms, flipping through that one picture book of pictures of the whole family from all 4 of the previous Vacation movies, despite the fact that all the Rustys and Audreys are different.
Yeah.
Just like, yep, this is us. This is all canon, motherfuckers.
Yep.
Screw you.
Which goes to prove my point. Rusty Griswold is a Time Lord. And so is Audrey.
One of the very few gags in Vegas Vacation that worked was the meta moment where Chevy Chase goes, "I don't even recognize you kids anymore."
Yes.
I bought Ed Helms as the grown-up version of the Rusty we knew before, more than I bought Leslie Mann as the grown-up version of being the same Audrey. I mean, Leslie Mann...
They switched their hair colors.
Leslie Mann was fine in the role. I just wasn't quite buying her as being Audrey.
Actually, now that you say that, that's funny. My stepbrothers actually did that when my blonde brother was born with black hair and my black-haired brother was born with blonde hair.
Well,
So your step-siblings are Griswolds?
Yes. I am a Griswold by proxy.
I kept expecting that the whole Audrey thing was going to come back and that she was going to, leave Thor and because she kept hinting at she wants to have her own career and
Yeah.
But I don't know, perhaps they will save that for a sequel if this does well enough.
This actually kind of set up another European Vacation movie potentially.
That's true.
You know what I'm surprised with the original 4 Vacation films, why they never finally did Hawaiian Vacation, because that's where they always said they always wanted to go. They're Hawaii, that's where they always said.
Not only was the park like a 2015 park, but the car was definitely the 2015 version of the Vacation car.
I was honestly a little disappointed that there wasn't a scene of him getting the Albanian car from the same used car lot dealer played by Eugene Levy. Yeah, I was a little disappointed that Eugene Levy didn't return to play the same car dealer. They had to bring Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo back to do cameos, obviously, but it was nice that they actually gave Chevy some stuff to do, like the pratfalls with him trying to get the guitar and stuff like that. That was really nice. We haven't even mentioned the funniest scene in this movie, which concerns the 4 corners. That was great. If this was a sketch movie, that was the best sketch in it. Tim Heidecker, Caitlin Olsen, Nick Kroll, and Michael Pena as the different cops from the different... That was in like a quadruple Mexican standoff. That was just so great.
It goes without saying, but the use of the song Holiday Road. It's like
you can't not.
You have to. And that opening montage with all the awkward family photos being juxtaposed with the visions of Americana and beauty. Well, it's like I want to call up my friend Steph and be like, go see Vacation, if nothing else, for the first opening credits sequence.
I was on board from the opening credits. The moment the Warner Brothers logo came up and the music, like the music started for Holiday Road, I got so excited that for a split second I was like, don't subvert this. Don't like have a record scratch and play something else. Just play the damn song.
Yeah, and they did.
And they did. And I was
it was
happy.
like they did a weird thing where they multi-tracked it and like altered the sound, so like you hear some sound like, could it be? Will it be? And then boom, it like transformed into the song. It was like,
and it was glorious.
Yes,
it would have been such a bummer if Kenan Thompson had actually said, "Lindsey Buckingham, we're sorry we didn't have time for your song."
We saw the love interest of the teenage boy, and in the background there was like, you know, that kind of RV camper. I was expecting her to like get a video like on the phone, like, and they're talking and their boyfriend and girlfriend, and then she pans over to her dad, and it was Randy Quaid. And it turned out that they were related. That's what I was expecting to have happen, was that, you know, that was going to be the...
Didn't Randy Quaid kind of go crazy?
Yes,
Randy
he did.
Quaid, I heard that at one point they wanted to get Randy Quaid into the movie, and then it was just like, nope. They did name drop Cousin Eddie.
Yeah. I'm glad they at least mentioned him. Oh, by the way, have you seen a film, direct to DVD? I believe it was titled, you know, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2, and it's like Eddie's something, where basically they made a whole Cousin Eddie movie that was a Christmas Vacation movie or something.
I have not watched it. I saw it on the shelf at Blockbuster
Oh my god.
Which
I've heard it came out on DVD while I worked at Blockbuster, and I could rent it for free. And I did not rent it for free to watch it. It wasn't until years and years later, I think it was on Netflix for free, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to finally watch this thing and see what was up, because I think I saw it on the box way back when that Eric Idle was in it too, which was interesting because he was in European Vacation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to give this thing a shot. Tony, you know how I love everything,
yes,
and I everything is a positive review and silver linings, and yay, you know, I got through about, like, I'm guessing 10, 15, 20 minutes tops of this film, and I gave up on it.
How far did you get through Vegas Vacation?
I like Vegas Vacation.
Well, there you go.
See, Vegas Vacation, you know, has had enough going for it to be a film,
so Vegas Vacation is technically a movie.
Yes.
And that is what, okay.
It's a movie that held my interest, had laughs and things and stuff in it. It's like, all I really remember about this movie was the beginning with Eddie and his wife, and they're in a bad situation, and like he's staying in a shitty hotel and he's trying to take a shower.
It looks like somebody blew their head off.
That's grossy gross.
If anyone out there has actually seen, like, Nostalgia Critic, if you're out there, if you've seen Christmas Vacation 2 starring Randy Quaid,
I'm sure that
please do a review so that I don't have to watch it. I really don't want to watch it.
I didn't like all of it. I sat through a lot of it going, because I don't like that kind of humor.
Yeah.
But I feel like I laughed almost as often as I did that. And so if you do like that kind of humor, you will love this movie. If you don't, you'll feel like I did, which was, I saw a movie with my friends, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have gone to see it by myself, but seeing it with friends was a good time.
Definitely at least worth a rental.
Yeah, I liked it, because I like things that I like.
Yay.
It's not a perfect movie, but neither was the original.
I would rank them Christmas Vacation. This one and the original tied, probably. Maybe with this one even slightly edging out the original. And then European, and then Vegas, and then probably like Under the Basement, that one you mentioned, without even having seen it.
It's like
Cousin Eddie's wacky spin-off adventure.
Cousin Eddie's Jingle All the Way 2.
We're going on a holiday.
I will turn this vlog around again.
I dare you.
Fine, I won't say
No, you can't. No. Only I may dance.
I understood that reference.
All the time.
Going on a holiday.
If Cars 2 is the worst movie that Pixar ever made,
let's not start that again.
That's still a pretty decent benchmark for how well they've done since they started.
Do not get us arguing
I'm
about
getting out of the
Cars
car
2.
before this goes on.
Okay.
Going on a holiday.
Oh no, chaos! Holiday road!
Holiday road!
We lost Zach.
Google us to watch our stuff.
na